Thank you. This was a busy week in the House and the legislature, and it's only going to get busier. There were a number of highlights last week of omnibus bills rolling out. I think the biggest was the rolling out of the education plan that's going to make significant investments in our schools. The Senate also released their education bill, and I think the good news, as with many other areas of the budget, there's a lot of alignment between what we're looking at doing, which will help us, but more importantly, I think is going to help parents and teachers and kids in the state of Minnesota as we pass that legislation. Interestingly, the Republicans also praised the elements in our education bill. They like the investments. Representative Woodard, said he liked the investments in early learners and K-12 education. Paying back our schools has been a priority for them. Of course, they haven't come up with any plan to actually pay for any of that. I mean, that totals over $1 billion, which they want to spend, but have no plan to pay for it. No ideas about how to balance our deficit. I would note, they have this wasteful DFL spending thing that they've put out there. 2 bonding projects, which don't help our general fund. And then the one they came out with yesterday was actually spending that they passed in their state government bill yesterday. So if they're complaining about wasteful spending, it's actually their spending that they're complaining about. We are going to offer a plan, which is what Minnesotans expect from us. That's what responsible legislation is about. Early next week, we're going to release the details of our House tax plan, which, of course, is a key element, a key building block of how we're going to pay back the $627 million budget deficit, pay back our schools, and make new investments in education, property tax relief, and jobs. Next week, we're also going to begin taking up the budget bills on the House floor and moving forward with our goal of getting those bills out by the end of this month. And I think Representative Murphy will have more details about that.
Good morning. I think that it is fair to say that the members of the Minnesota House are working awfully hard, and I think they're also really pleased to be at this point in the legislature where they can talk actually about the budget that they've been working on now for months and see the fruits of their labor come to the floor. While I think people are tired, they're also very focused on the work ahead. And I'd like to say that there's no rest for the weary, no rest for the wickedly good this weekend. Paul Thissen and I, the Speaker and I, will be both out on the road talking about the jobs bill. Jobs, of course, is one of the issues that Minnesotans are concerned about, and there's a meeting today in St. Peter. Tomorrow there will be meetings and press events in Duluth and Brainerd and in St. Cloud, and on Sunday we will be in Rochester and Albert Lee. Representative Hausman, Representative Mahoney, local members, the Speaker and I will be out on the road talking about that. And on Monday we will take up the first of our budget bills, and that is the jobs bill. And it is our intention, of course, to bring this bill forward so we can participate in helping grow Minnesota's economy and contribute to the job creation that will continue to happen across the state. Our job bill invests in proven strategies like the Minnesota Investment Fund and the Trade Office so that we're able to compete globally and we can continue to work on the job skills gap in Minnesota that we know exists, and that will contribute to better paying jobs and people getting back to work. In addition, it will also reduce taxes for small businesses by $346 million, and this is big for our small businesses. We often pay lip service to small businesses, and this is action on their behalf, and they are strong contributors to our economy. We're excited about that feature of the bill, and we're looking forward to moving it forward on Monday. And with that, I'll turn it to the Senate. Thank you.
So for us, it's the same as Paul and Erin indicated. All the talk at the start of the session that our intent was to work on the budget and tax issues. That would be the priority, obviously, for the session. That's exactly what's happening. As all of you know, we've begun the process of dealing with the omnibus finance bills in the Finance Committee. This morning we just finished the Judiciary Finance Bill. We've passed out the State Department's bill. We'll have that on the floor Monday. And we're on track to pass all of the finance bills out of committee by the deadline next week, the omnibus finance bills. There's an extra day scheduled if we have any hiccups along the way next Friday, where we don't have anything scheduled right now. But the anticipation is that by the end of next week, we'll have every bill on the floor. We will have passed some of the bills off the floor next week. And we're on track for concluding the work of what the session's all about.
Senator, you said the state government bills on Monday?
Yes, on the floor.
Well, the tax division report came out, the reform division report came out yesterday. I think Senator Ress did a good job of briefing you, so I think I'll just answer questions there other than to say it's really interesting reform proposal she's put forward. There's a lot of stuff in there that I think is of interest to Minnesotans, particularly the relief of the double taxation of sales tax on local governments and the capital, this exemption for capital sales purchases. The full division, committee will be coming forward with its proposal to balance the state budget. We're particularly pleased that Governor Dayton has been committed to a 4-year balanced budget. We're looking forward to working with Representative Lencheski in the House and reaching agreements that we all think are good for the state of Minnesota. And so as the finance committees wind up their work next week, I would expect the tax committee will be having its bill out the following week. Then answer any questions, I guess.
Senator Skoe, can you tell me why you guys decided to take the Destination Medical Center bill off today's agenda?
Sure. Well, I knew that was coming up, so I actually wrote some notes because I want to be accurate. The amendment that was proposed yesterday was a partially completed amendment. It didn't do, as far as we could tell, what the proponents thought it was going to do or it wanted it to do. We really didn't want another proposal out there that wasn't accomplishing the goals that we all have set out to work toward. We're committed to resolving this, and those of us that have been working on this, and that includes Tina Smith of the Governor's Office, Representative Norton, Representative Liebling, have been putting in a lot of hours with their staff on this, and we're committed to continuing that effort. But the proposal that came out was not complete. So we're going to work to continue to find this solution. I think the House is certainly putting forth a good effort. They really have done the yeoman's work on this so far, and I mean, Representative Norton and Liebling and Chair Lencheski are to be commended. You know that the two tax committee chairs, have been working this together now for over a month. We had a letter to Mayo and Rochester requesting information, and so I think we've demonstrated our commitment to moving forward on this. I do want to say that there are 3 partners in this. We want the city of Rochester to be successful. We want Mayo Clinic to be successful and grow in our state. We want the state of Minnesota to do well, and our responsibility is to ensure that the taxpayers' interests are protected. And so I expect that in the next week or so there will be progress made again. But we'll go back and work with Representative Norton and Representative Liebling, who've been working with very seasoned, talented House Committee staff on making progress on this, and certainly Ms. Pollack from the Senate staff is primarily involved also.
Do you have a timeline as to when you expect you may take it up then? Or?
You know, no, I don't at this point. I think, I don't know how much detail I want to get into. I have had conversations with Representative Lencheski. She's working this weekend, so am I. We're going to try to get together.
So, Senator, I just want to be clear. Obviously, yesterday, everybody was saying that the financing plan for Mayo was that they were putting forward is off the table. Is that still off the table in terms of how this is working? And
Tom, I would characterize that as a pretty fair statement. I don't think we're going to do that income capture stuff. And Tom, as you caught me in the hall yesterday, you could tell that I was a little surprised by the amendment. And so we'll just keep working on it.
Senator, can you explain to the broader public, House taxes was full of a lot of drama over this week. why this bill is so dramatic. It is ready, it isn't ready. It's been through a lot of twists and turns this week.
Well, these large economic development projects, they're important to a lot of people around the state, and a lot of people paying attention to it. Legislators are paying attention to it, and when you have something as large as this, that, to be honest, the original proposal probably hadn't involved the legislature as much as it should have. It tends to draw attention, and so that's part of the reason that we didn't move forward today. Is we think that we need to have all the parties at the table and try to work forward, and so when we come forward with the next proposal, that there's more consensus around it.
Did you hear your minority members pleased to keep this separate, especially the Republicans from Rochester don't want this folded into a bigger tax bill? Are you likely to listen to them on that?
Well, the bill is plumb full of tax stuff, so you're not going to take it out of a tax bill. And tax bills, you generally get one shot at that in the legislature. And for me, I'm telling my members and other senators that the train that's leaving the station is the omnibus tax bill. And if they don't want to be on that train, I don't know what their solution is going to be. The Senate is somewhat constrained by our inability to generate tax proposals on our own.
You said you're committed to figuring a solution. Is that this session?
Don, that's my goal. I've been working on this now for, where are we, May, a couple months.
Are the provisions that were in the arrest bill, such as the memorabilia and all that stuff, is that guaranteed to go into the omnibus tax bill?
Guaranteed? That's an odd word. My expectation is Senator Rest did very good work, and there will be few amendments. There will be a few, but not very many.
And would one of the amendments take out the sales tax provisions? In other words, to support sales tax.
I've got 13 members on the committee. I don't know today what amendment's going to be offered, and I wouldn't be supporting that amendment.
Can we have the House talking about that particular tax provision, the sales tax part?
Sure. I'm not. My sense is it's unlikely that a sales tax is going to be part of the House bill that's going to be released early next week, and it's clearly going to be part of the discussion as we move through the process here. But I'm not sure that the issue's ripe if the people of Minnesota have had the kind of conversation they need to have about that issue.
You said early next week. Can you be more specific when you expect the tax bill out?
In the first part of next week is about as specific as I can get.
Can you go over both chambers a little more, what you expect each day, to give us some type of better roadmap of the week?
I think you can see, the budget bills working their way through the committees and in Ways and Means, and we'll take those up next week. We know we're going to take the jobs bill up on Monday. We expect to be on the floor every day next week, and at the end part of the week, we'll probably be on the floor most of the day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So as the bills are working their way through, those are the bills that we're going to come up, but I'm going to withhold a commitment on the order of the bills until we see how they come out of the committee.
I think that, sorry that I was late, you guys had the nurse staffing bill. You can understand that. If you follow it, I think next week we have the only commitment that we have. We'll be on the floor every day too. The State Department of Veterans bill is scheduled for Monday, and then we'll continue to be on the floor as those bills leave Senator Cohen's committee and passed out of finance. Then we'll take them up as they go along.
While you're there, Senator, Republicans on the E12 committee were not happy that they saw the spreadsheet of their bill been Wednesday evening or afternoon, but they weren't even allowed to take a copy of it, they said. They saw the bill at 8:30 yesterday morning and voted on it at 10 o'clock last night. They're saying this is rushed through, and they had little, if any, opportunity to really read through the whole thing. Can you respond to that?
You know, I can. I wish I could. I didn't talk to Senator Uyghur about, you know, kind of how that all played out. I just kind of heard about some of the indigestion this morning with respect to that. You know, I don't know if Senator Cohen was part of some of that strategy. I mean, it is a division of his committee. Maybe Senator Cohen can help us with that.
Well, Senator Uyghur has been putting this bill together for the last several days. In fact, at some point, I wasn't here last night, but or I left about 7 o'clock or so. But he had a break, so members could take a look at the bill, consider amendments. I mean, usually that doesn't happen. I mean, clearly the outlines of the bill have been available to people over the last couple of days, and it was my understanding last night that they took a number of amendments. Some of them were Republican-sponsored amendments, some of them were DFL amendments. I'm not sure that the process in that committee has been anything different than what it's been over the years, whether DFL controlled for the number of years, the last couple of years with the Republican majority. As best I know, it's a very similar process.
Senator, while you're there, do you have do you know what the sequence is going to be of the bills that you expect to send to the floor?
The expectation is that they're going to come up in the order that we pass them out of committee. So State Department's Monday. I would expect Judiciary on Tuesday. We have higher ed in the committee on Monday. We had thought we would have transportation. We need some further work on that bill. As you know, we didn't pass that bill out of committee on Wednesday evening. We're going to have all the bills off the floor, or out of committee. We expect still by the end of the day, Thursday. You know, my expectation had been that we'd have we'd be able to take a bill a day. We might have a couple of bills in a meeting. We've done that, obviously, over the years. That's not unusual in and of itself. I would expect the last bill out of committee on Thursday will be the Health and Human Services bill. We'll have E12, I think, on Tuesday. So those are obviously the two largest bills.
Senator Cohen, do you know when the HHS bill is going to be released?
No, I don't. You know, I think Tony intends to have something out or something presented, I believe, on Tuesday. That you'd have to ask him. I'm not sure exactly what day he intends to release his bill.
And Speaker Thissen, on the HHS bill, you've been saying for a while that you need to. One of the reasons you were making the target with the $150 million cut is that it was going to, quote, slow the rate of growth in those programs. Yet, how are you doing that if you're just recapturing, you know, the hospital surcharge, and then obviously taking back the HMO money in regards to the cap? I mean, are you really slowing the rate of growth if you're just capturing money elsewhere?
Well, on the HMO side, that is reducing this money that's going out on healthcare. So that absolutely is reducing the cost of healthcare. Yes.
I mean, you're not significantly cutting any programs. What you're doing is capturing money.
We're reducing the rates that are being paid out to cover the cost of healthcare. That is reducing the cost of healthcare. That's one of the things that's going up too quickly.
Mr. Speaker, is there a consensus yet on whether or not the legislature needs to take some action to add revenue to the stadium project to help pay the state's share? Or is it still possible that nothing will be done and let this work out?
A couple of things. I'm not sure that as you look at the way the bonds are going to be released that it's necessary right now, but I think probably the consensus is that it's prudent that we take some action this year. And so you have provisions going through the legislature that could address that issue.
And senators on that?
As everybody knows, Senator Rosen was the author of the bill last year, which so nobody's more conversant with the bill in the Senate than Julie is. And what she said this week is that she's committed to making sure that the electronic pull tabs work. She'd like to do some further work on that. There've been some vague. I mean, most of what I know is through the newspapers. At this point, the Senate Finance Committee has no meetings scheduled relative to the stadium, and we still have further the need for further discussion and examination of where the pull tabs are before we start passing all sorts of other taxes relative to that. And who knows what happens in a legislative session. But at this point, we have, in the Finance Committee, we don't have anything scheduled or contemplated.
And taxes?
Both of those provisions are part of our sales tax reform, money going in the general fund.
Senator Skoe, can you elaborate at all on some of the issues that you see with the amendment to the DMC bill?
Well, I'm hesitant to be as public as some of my critics because I don't think it's as productive. But we want to make sure that the funding is adequate to accomplish what Mayo wants. We want to make sure that the local share is commensurate and adequate for what they are able to do. And we want to make sure that the state's taxpayers are protected. That brings into play the mechanisms for distributing state dollars and how we're going to do it. And there is also the ongoing question of the authority that's going to be the gatekeeper of these money.